Welcome to the Joel Dirt Podcast. Dustin Cole, man, thank you so much for coming in
Absolutely.
today.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of all comedy, and so I kind of got extra excited when you said you were coming on. I haven't sat down with a comedian yet.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like from this area, a few years ago, a guy from the local paper reached out because somebody put him in touch with me and said, "Hey, I want to do an article about the comedy scene in Lapeer and stuff like that." And I was like, "Well, I'm down," but I was like, "I don't really know anybody else."
Right.
I was like, "I'm not trying to make this all about me," but I was like, "I'm pretty sure it's just me." Right. And in recent years, a couple people popped up here and there that I've taken on the road, but nothing from a professional standpoint. So yeah, it's I like to kind of like the king of comedy in Lapeer a little bit.
Absolutely.
Not even by choice. It's just by default.
Right.
Like it's me.
Yeah, you got into it and you're the only one holding on strong. But first, I would like to kind of get your backstory a little bit.
Sure.
So you're from Lapeer area, obviously.
I graduated from North Branch. Yeah,
did you
my
really?
wife actually is from Lapeer, and we just this is where we settled.
That's where I live right now is North Branch.
Okay, yeah, that's what. Yeah, I graduated there 2001, so a long time ago now.
Yeah,
quarter century, which is nuts, but
right on.
Yeah,
well, that's pretty cool. So just thinking about that, back in the school days, were you a comic in school too?
I was a pretty big introvert, actually. Like I was kind of not necessarily afraid of the spotlight, but I was a little bit of a wallflower. Like I never really stood out in any friend groups or anything. I played a lot of sports growing up. It wasn't really until after I graduated and it kind of became this thing where, you're not pigeonholed into who you were. And it's like, your possibilities are endless at that point. And it was maybe about a year into college that I kind of discovered, I was like, this is what I want to do. And I just kind of eventually went for it.
So how did you make that first step? So you're just like, I kind of want to try comedy. What'd you do? Look for an open mic?
So yeah, it's how I got into comedy is actually a really unique story. Like every comedian and every entertainer, actually, they have a unique origin story to what they did. And mine is no different. So I saw one of Dane Cook's specials, and I didn't know what I wanted to do in life at that point. I saw this special. It was Vicious Circle.
Okay.
It was a couple years in college. Saw Vicious Circle, and I was just kind of like, he's having the time of his life up there. I was like, I want to do that. That looks so, and so that's what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted to come of it. I didn't know if, I didn't necessarily want to be famous, but I was like, you know what, if I can get money doing that, that's right. Because you see,
that looks fun.
Right. You see so many comedians and their persona is almost like a self-deprecating type of situation. It's where I saw this high energy guy that was just having the time of his life up there. I was like, that looks like a lot of fun. I want to do that. So I decided at that point, I was like, all right, I'm going to try stand-up comedy. But at the time, I lived in an apartment in Davison, Michigan, and I didn't know where to start. Like, I didn't know what an open mic was. I didn't know that you could take these classes down at the Comedy Castle in Royal Oak. I just knew I wanted to try this. I didn't know where to start. And one day I was having lunch with a buddy of mine, and I told him what I wanted to do. And he was like, well, they have this weekly comedy night at this bar in Flint called Maxie's. It's gone now. I can't remember what happened. I think it might have burned down, actually. But this bar in Flint called Maxie's. He was like, they do comedy every Sunday. He was like, maybe that's a place we can start. I was like, all right. So that was my first lead. So I called Maxie's, and right away when the bartender answers, it was this lady. And I was like, hey, can I get on the show this Sunday? And she was like, it doesn't really work like that. We don't book the show. It just happens here. But here's the guy that books it and hosts it. It was this guy named Rusty Thomas. We're still friends to this day.
Nice.
And so she gave me his number. I reached out to him, and I was like, hey, can I get on the show this Sunday? And you could tell he was kind of taken aback. He was like, this is a weird phone call. So he was like, are you a comedian? And I figured I had to lie at this point. So I was like, yeah, I'm a comedian. He's like, how long you been doing it? I was like, I've been at it a couple years. And you could tell he could probably see through my bullshit. But he was like, well, I tell you what, come on out. I'll have you up. I'll give you a guest spot and, we'll see what comes of that and so on and so forth. And it wasn't an open mic. Like, it was a full blown.
It was a full set.
Weekly.
So how long was your set that?
My set was 5 minutes, but it was a fun, like my first time on stage was like a show with a headliner, a feature, a host, and they gave me a guest spot. So I went up there and to this
5-minute set, your first time on stage.
5-minute set. I can't remember what I said. I remember the very first thing I said, and I just I thought it was funny, so I said it. I don't remember the rest of it. The first thing I ever said on stage was I got into stand up for the pussy. People laughed, they got chuckles and stuff like that, and
some jaw dropping.
Right, the rest of it was kind of a blur. I remember getting some laughs, at least enough to make me want to do this again. And I made a contact that night. Like, I talked to the headliner that night was a guy named Steve Sabo out of Ohio. I still work with him from time to time. And then the feature that night was a girl by the name of Heather J. We actually reconnected a couple months ago at the Comedy Castle. And I just kind of threw them. They were like, well, here's what you got to do. There's these open mics and this and that and then some. So I spent the next probably 2 to 3 years hitting every open mic possible down. Like, I was going down to Detroit 4 or 5 nights a week, hitting 2 or 3 open mics a night. And I was just kind of hustling until one day I did a show and there was a headliner there. His name was Jason Douglas. And he was like, you know what, you're pretty funny. He's like, but you can tell you're raw, you need to be polished and that. Sure. So he said, he's like, well, I tell you what, if you're up for this, I like you. I think you're funny. We kind of vibe. So if you want to come on the road with me, I'll give you guest spots every week. He's like, I can't pay you because you're just doing guest spots, but you can ride with me. I'll put you up. I'll pay for food. I'll pay for gas. He was like, I'll get a free opener out of the deal and you'll get this experience.
Right. Yep.
So I took him up on that, and we were doing that for a good couple years, 2 to 3 years after that. We get home one weekend, like late on a Saturday night. We get back to his house in St. Clair Shores, Michigan, and we pull over and he hands me this envelope. And he was like, good job this weekend. I was like, what's this? And he was like, I don't know. You haven't been timing yourself, but you're up to 30 minutes. And he was like, and you're getting laughs for that. He's like, you're a feature now.
Nice.
He was like, I can't not pay you.
Yeah.
So then from there, he put me in touch with some other people, and that's when I just started getting work, and it became a profession. Yeah, and that's just
okay.
And that's what it is. So I won't sit here and kid you and say it's all like there was definitely some luck in there, hooking up with the right people
life, though,
and stuff
man.
like that.
That's
And I caught a couple breaks, and here we are 20 years later.
Right. So how many bombs did you have before you kind of caught on?
So many, dude. Like one piece of advice I often give to comedians starting out, either people that are just thinking about getting into comedy or they're new to comedy and they're like, what kind of advice you would give me? I always tell people push through the suck, because like sometimes it's a year, sometimes it's a couple of years. It sucks. Like
some people, it's like 10 years.
Right. Yeah. You're going to go up there. You're going to eat shit a lot.
Right.
And you just have to push through. If you can push through that and get through to the other side of that, you're going to be fine. Because that's what it is. Like a lot of people, they get beat up about it and they're like, this is hard. I don't want to do this and stuff.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times in those first few years, you're doing these open mics at like a dive bar at 11:30 p.m. on like a Tuesday when there's
5 drunks in the bar.
There's 5 drunks in the bar, and then there's like 10 comics who are in there, but you're all in your own world, kind of paying attention to your own stuff. So you're only half paying attention. So you're not really getting laughs from them, and you're half-heartedly getting laughs from people half paying attention to the bar. And
they're not actually hearing
right.
you.
You're fighting against people having conversations. So it's tough. A lot of people, they go, I want to be a comedian. And they immediately think, you do clubs and theaters, and eventually you will get to that. If you can you got to push through the suck. And that's what I did. I pushed through the suck, and here we are.
Yeah, the suck is awkward and uncomfortable.
Right. And that's what it is. It doesn't necessarily, like there's even times today where, I'll get off stage and I'll be like,
wasn't my day.
It wasn't the best set I ever had. And honestly, 15 years ago, I would beat myself up over that. I'd be like, God, I got to do something different, this and that. Now I laugh about it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's part of it. It's not the first time that's happened. It's not going to be the last.
No. And every crowd's different too, because you don't know who's in the audience.
Right.
they might not be receptive to your joke.
And a lot of time, not every comedian is universally funny. There's some, like for me, like I feel like I do have a bit of a demographic and I have a bit of a niche. And
Sure.
there's sometimes I'll walk into a venue and I'll look at that crowd and I'll either go, I'm going to kill it tonight, or be like, this might not be it. They're a little older.
Right.
So it's just, but it's like everybody, as long as you're consistently getting laughs, you're going to have a one-off, and it happens. It sucks when it happens, but
right. That's got to feel so good though when you're on stage and you set up a joke and it hits.
When you're killing up there, like there's no better, like every comedian will tell you this, like that's a high that they chase.
I can imagine.
Like you are, especially the first few times you get it, like you just want to keep getting up and up and up because you want it's like a drug.
Oh, sure.
It's definitely a
healthy drug.
Yeah. It's a dopamine boost, and and there's some nights where I'll be up there and, I'll do just the setup to a joke or a bit, and it'll get a big laugh, and it'll be like, "Oh, this is going to be so good." That's not even the punchline, dude.
Right.
Like, this is going to be so good.
Wait.
Yeah. So it's like, it's a dopamine rush that we all chase from day one. Like the first time you get that really great set or that really good pop, like after a joke, like you spend the rest of your time
line,
chasing
sinker,
it. Yeah,
right?
that's it. Like you're chasing that high.
Man, I can't even imagine that. Yeah, you mentioned Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. I went down there for the first time about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that's a pretty sweet spot.
It is. Yeah, it's historic too. It's really interesting actually. It took me a little less than 20 years to actually get a weekend there, but I never really pursued it. There's a lot of comedians, they get into comedy and they take these classes because they do classes down at Mark Ridley's. I never took any of the classes. And they kind of get in there, and then they start there, and they're within that group, that Ridley's group. So, and it was one of those things, like I just never, like I was busy without it, so I just never really forced my hand with it. And I finally, it was last December, a buddy of mine was headlining there. A buddy of mine, Cam Rowe. We work together a lot. Like if I'm booked somewhere to headline, I'll often take him as the feature, and if he books the head, like he'll bring me as a feature. And it was one of those situations where he got booked to headline, and he asked me, he was like, "Do you want to do the castle?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And the guy that books it, Bill Bouchard, he was like, "I've been meaning to reach out to you." So we were finally able to put a weekend together on the books at Ridley's. So
nice, man.
That was last December. My favorite club in Michigan, actually, it's in Waterford. It's called One Night Stands Comedy Club.
Okay.
They're kind of like my home club. They're like, I really feel at home there, and I get like, they're the one club, and I'm just kind of giving them a shout out here. They're the one club that I don't feel like I have to chase to get in there. Like like the GM there, Mike Green, he'll reach out and he'll be like, "Hey, free weekend, blah, blah, blah." And he'll often think of me if somebody drops for a weekend and be like, "Are you free this weekend?" And sometimes I am, sometimes not. If I am, like he calls me, and it's like, they're kind of like my home club, but Ridley's is the historic one. Like,
and I think like every comic probably has like a home base.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We all have that home club, home venue, stuff like that. I like to consider the Machine Shop like that a little bit too, because I performed there a few times, and I got a really good relationship with Kevin Zink, and a lot of times he'll have because it's the shop, so they have bigger concerts, so they'll bring in some bigger names, and he often calls me to
I know Kevin, and
show.
I've been there several times. I was just there. I'm actually going there on Tuesday for a concert.
Such a great venue, great staff. Like everybody there is just so cool. They're so welcoming.
Yeah, man. I love that place. I actually used to be in a garage band back in the day, and I played there 3 times when I was younger.
Yeah, and when you play there, like you feel like you made it, Like the first time I was there was with Bobcat Goldthwait. I got brought in to feature for him. And when I went there, I was like, this is it. Like the Machine Shop is like the mecca of entertainment in, our area and stuff like that. So when I did that, like that was the
high.
Yeah, I was like, if the career ended here, I was like, I'm happy.
I've already made it.
Yeah, I did the shop,
Right. Okay. So I want to kind of get back on track with the so you got an envelope with money in it,
right? Yeah.
And then where do you go from there?
So it was pretty surreal, because for the longest time, I had a day job, and I was doing this comedy thing on the weekends, and I didn't really ever think of it as a career. It was always something that I just loved doing, and it was something that I loved getting out. And it was like this it was almost like this hobby that I just took very serious. So when I got this envelope of money, like paying me for a couple of shows, And don't get me wrong, it wasn't life-changing money, but it was like $100 for a show. So it was like $200 that I didn't have.
This can happen.
Before. Yeah, I was like, this is okay. And unbeknownst to me, the guy that took me on the road, his name's Jason Douglas. And one thing you see in comedy a lot is people are often comedians, they're bookers, they're producers, all in one. And I didn't know this. He was one of the biggest bookers in the country. He runs this company called The Comedian Company. And I didn't know this. Like, he never made it known to me, and I'm glad he didn't.
Right.
We had this relationship as comics, and he kind of made that known to me. He's like, now you're getting paid. He's like, I'm going to put you on the road with it. But now that you're paid, you're going to get you'll agree to take these gigs if you want them. And if you do, it's on you to get there now. Like, I can't provide your gas and your food. So now it's on you.
So now you got to put all that wear and tear on your own car.
Yeah. So, I wanted that, I wanted that, so that meant, I was finally doing this, and it kind of took you into that next echelon of, from being just like an open micer, an opener, to like an actual professional comedian.
Right.
And that's where it really changed for me. And I kind of had to start looking at it more from a business sense, as opposed to just something that I do for giggles.
Right. Yeah. So the ladder's there, and you kind of got that step.
I got that next rung. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. So what did you do? You go home, and he says, here's your tour, here's your dates,
pretty
this
much,
is where you go.
Like, the way it works out, and it still kind of works out like this to this day, like, and I work for 2 or 3 big bookers now, but I still work for him, but he'll oftentimes, like, he'll send out this mass email to like a select comics in a region, like, hey, here's this gig, it's the headline, it's the feature, it's whatever, here's the pay, it comes with a hotel or it doesn't come with a hotel. And then if that's something you're interested in, you reply, be like, yeah, I'm up for it. And then he looks at the list of applicants and decide. And then there's sometimes where he'll just reach out and be like, listen, I think this is perfect for you if you want to do it.
Sure.
And I can either turn it down or take it, depending on the pay, depending on where it is, how many miles am I putting on my car to do it? Especially nowadays with gas, it's crazy. Like, so you have to factor that in now.
Oh, yeah. How do they make it now?
Man, it's tough. Like, there's sometimes, like, I will almost always take a gig as long as I'm not like losing money to do it. Like, if I'm open and like it's a couple states over and I'm probably going to break even doing it, I'll often just say yes.
It's the experience. It's the the marketing. You're getting yourself into a new crowd.
And part of it, like, I'm always afraid to say no. Like, if I tell this booker no, is he going to reach out again? So a lot of times, like, I'll just take it blindly. And sometimes you regret it. Like, you'll take, like we're in May right now, and say I'll get an offer for a weekend at a club in Wisconsin or Minnesota in the middle of February. And you don't think about that right now. You're like, yeah, I'm open. Let's do it. Right. And then 2 days before, this whole snowstorm hits, and you just got to kind of force your way through it and stuff like that.
So which one is your biggest regret?
Oh man,
spiked my curiosity.
There's a lot. Like I said, oftentimes it's in the winter. It's something that I accepted a few months prior, and but it's one of those things where I don't really regret them.
Sure.
I regret them
but
sometimes.
It was less enjoyable.
There's sometimes, you'll take a gig, you'll do it, and you'll be like, that was not fun at all. And like hindsight, you'll be like, for instance, a lot of times, like house parties, you'll get offers for house parties, and those are always a fucking mess. Like, they're always, because it's always what they want is that, like, you'll get there, and then your contact will meet you at the door, and he'll be like, all right, listen, here's the deal. They don't know that there's comedy, so we're going to keep you a surprise, and then we're going to pull. And I always think to myself, I was like, okay, even as a comic, like, say I'm at a party, I'm having a few drinks with my friends, and we're socializing and things that we're having a good time. The last thing I want is for the host to be like, all right, everybody shut the fuck up for the next hour.
We're here to talk and have fun.
Listen to this guy now. And so you're just set up for failure.
Right.
But often, there's always someone there that's having a good time. So, it's one of those, but I'm always apprehensive about taking house parties. But if I'm free and the money's right, I'm like, what? Sure. It's money. It is what it is. Or like anytime I get an offer for a gig in the UP, because the Mackinac Bridge scares the shit out of me. I always take it if I'm open, but I always go, God, do I want to do that? Like, it scares the shit out of me driving over that
5-mile bridge.
Well, it's so scary because you have 2 choices. You can either take the outside lane,
where you feel like you can just tip off.
Yeah, where you can just turn your head slightly and see all the way down, or you can take the inside lane, but it's a grate, and you go wah wah, and the median is just like a little hump.
And I always wonder, like, is a big gust of wind going to just come and just sail you?
Yeah, and I didn't learn this until after I'd taken a few gigs there. But one time, like I got home from a gig or whatever, and I was talking to a buddy of mine. They were like, actually, one time, like there was this Yugo back in the '70s that the wind just blew it right. I was like, are you serious? So I looked it up, and right now I'm just driving a small little Buick Encore. So I'm like that's probably just a little bigger than a fucking Yugo. So like I could
the right gust of wind.
Yeah.
You're gone.
I don't even know how that bridge is legal sometimes.
Right.
I was like, how is this like who passed this along?
Yeah. Why the grates, huh?
At City Hall? Like who said, yeah, we can do that? Who put this? I don't know.
I know. No, I hear you. I hear you. But again, that's kind of like goes back to the embracing the suck and pushing through it, going through all those.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's probably because it still does suck to this day sometimes. It's just, it's a lot of travel. It's a lot of wear and tear. It's like, for instance, the other day, the check engine light popped on my car, like just driving around town. To a normal person, they'd be like, it's fine. I'll just take it in. I'll get it looked at, blah, blah. And I go, well, I got this 300-mile hike this weekend. Is my car going to make it? So it puts a little...
And you just probably send it and go for it and hope for the best.
Yeah, always. Yeah, always. Like, but it does make you worry a little more about those things a little more than what your average person would that probably just stays in their bubble, drives to work 5 days a week and comes home on the weekends and that's it. Right
on, man. So what was your first tour and like who did you tour with?
First tour was definitely from just like a comedy standpoint. It was with Jason Douglas. Like we were for at least 2 or 3 years. We were every weekend. We were somewhere on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oftentimes it'd be like we'd have this gig up in Wisconsin on a Thursday, back in Ohio on a Saturday, and finishing off in Michigan on Friday, and then finishing off in Michigan on a Saturday and stuff like that. My first like tour of like substance and stuff like that, usually 2 or 3 times a year I'll get a couple weekends with Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yeah,
we kind of hooked up a few years ago.
Yeah, he was in that movie Police Academy, right?
Yep. Yeah,
I remember my grandpa used to always have movies on, and I grew up with them, and I remember watching Police Academy, and he's such a character.
Well, I got really lucky with it. I've been really fortunate in my comedy career to work with some pretty big people like that.
Yeah,
but there's every now and then there's one of them that will stick for more than like a gig. Like I was he's a funny story because he came to Flanagan's, which was Fat Boys, which was some downtown. He came there a few years ago. It was like 2022. I wasn't on the show, but I knew the guy that booked the show. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I live in this town. Is there any way I could pop out, just do 5 minutes, just so I can say I opened for Bobcat Goldthwait? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Go on out, this and that. So they gave me 7 minutes at the beginning of this show. And at the time I was in the middle of crafting a new 7. So I was like, well, this is perfect. I'll just go up and do this new 7. I'll work that out and see how that goes. And the middle act was a guy named Sal D'Amelio, a really good friend of mine. He's from Detroit, tour with him sometimes. And then Bobcat was the headliner. So I get there early. I meet Bob in the green room, and he's the nicest guy ever. He's the coolest guy ever. And me, him, and Sal are just vibing up there, and things are going really good. And then I go down and I do my 7 minutes. And anytime you're working on a new bit, new few minutes, this and that, it's the first few times you do it, it's okay. You're feeling it out. You're seeing what you need to change, what you're getting laughs on, what to keep, and stuff like that. And that's exactly what happened on that night. It went okay. Got a laugh here, laugh there. And then Sal went up, did his thing, and then Bobcat went up and just killed. And I had never. It was the first night where I thought, I was like, okay, like those few times in my life that I thought I killed, I just did pretty good. That's killing. Like what he just did is killing. And the whole time, so he goes up there, he kills, and then afterwards, we're hanging out up in the green room. Eventually, Sal takes off, and I kind of took that as my cue. I was like, all right, Bob, Bob, it was nice meeting you. It was nice working with you. He's like, well, I tell you what. He's like, will you hang out up here with me for a little bit longer? Because there's only one way in and out of this bar, and I just want to make sure, let it clear out down there before I take off. I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So I continue, and we hang out for like another hour to 90 minutes. We order food, and I'm realizing this is the coolest guy ever. And like, he's Bobcat Goldthwait and things are going really good. And then I start replaying in my mind my set. And I was like, I did a new 7. I should have did like the highlight package and just like blew the place away.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the night, we walk down, we hug, we take a picture.
Sure.
We part ways. And I think that's it. That's probably, I got a cool story. I hung out with Bobcat Goldthwait and that's that. But I'm thinking in my head, I blew it. I should have did, like I said, I should have did some of my best shit. Yeah. But I kind of packed it away. But I got really lucky because a few months later, one of the guy that booked it reached out and he said, I got another weekend with Bob coming up. He's coming here, I think in the fall or spring or whatever. And I asked him if he was bringing his own opener, and he said, I'm not, but he was like, there was a guy in one of your shows. We hung out up in the green room. We really kind of clicked. Can he come and can he do 30? Cause he did 7 that night.
Yeah.
So right away I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So then we went out on the road and we've done a weekend here or there, like 2 or 3 times a year for the last few years. And
Nice.
That's been really, really cool.
That is really cool. He's a funny dude.
Yeah. We really clicked. And it's funny that we clicked too, because he's vegan. So like getting lunch, during in the middle of the day.
Where are we going to eat?
Yeah. We always have, but I think it's, I always do my due diligence ahead of time. Like, what's a good vegan place and this and that. And I always find something to eat there too. And I think he appreciates that.
Sure,
so it's,
sure.
we get along, we kind of click. So there's been a couple situations like that, that like I consider like tours, where we're actually playing these big places and stuff like that. So.
Right. Nice, man. That's exciting. So, what other kind of big name comedians have you toured with?
I have, the big one's Bobcat. He's the one that I've like toured with. I've done a couple short little tours with Chris Kattan from SNL.
Yeah. So hold on, Chris Kattan, isn't he the one from Night at the Roxbury?
Yep.
Yeah.
The one opposite Will Ferrell. Yeah. That's him.
The head bob.
It's kind of funny. Like I joke. Well, one of my buddies one time said, he was like, it's funny. Like he was like, Chris Kattan's back to, doing comedy clubs and stuff like that. He's like, somewhere in an alternate reality, you're driving Will Ferrell around.
Right.
So yeah, I worked with Chris Kattan quite a bit. Well, it's been a little over a year probably. So it's been a minute with him. I've worked with Victoria Jackson, who was on SNL. I've done a couple shows with Tom Green.
Nice. Tom Green's
he was Big Hero Me back in the day.
Dude,
back in the 90s
Road
on MTV.
Trip,
Yeah,
the
like
movie,
he was a big one for me.
Oh yeah.
The craziest person I ever opened for, and most people don't believe me when I tell them this, was Ron Jeremy though.
Wow. So hold on, you opened for Ron Jeremy. So Ron Jeremy was doing comedy?
So yeah, Ron.
Hold on, for people that don't know who Ron Jeremy is, he was like the popular porn star.
He's probably the most famous porn star that's ever
male
lived,
porn star,
which is weird because he's just this odd looking
short,
fella.
thick. I mean,
thick in all the right places.
Right. What was his jokes about? His anaconda? Or?
Well, what's interesting is when he moved out to New York in the 70s, he started doing comedy, and that's what he was doing. He was a comedian back then. And then at some point, apparently somebody was like, this guy's got a giant hog. And then,
maybe we should film
and then
hog.
the rest is history. That was the next 30. So then what he did, and a lot of celebrities that aren't comedians will often do this when their star starts to fade a little bit. They'll be like, I'll try comedy because that's one way I can get out on the road and people can see me, because
you already have a name established.
Right. Even though they're not uber famous, like if you see that Ron Jeremy's playing this small club here, that
so like all these like 40, 50-year-old ladies are showing up.
Right.
Because they've seen that thing.
Yeah. So he gets, and it's funny too, because I have a 5 to 6 minute long bit that I do in my set every time, and it gets laughs about working with Ron Jeremy, but a lot of it I took a lot of liberties with the story because at the end of the day, like working with him was actually kind of boring. Like he was just kind of, just kind of kept to himself. He was a nice guy.
Sure.
Hindsight, I mean, it's kind of like he's in jail now for some pretty serious things.
Is he really?
Yeah. Sexual assault, stuff that. But yeah, so
who would have thought a porn star?
Right. So what's funny is I had this funny story about working with Chris Kattan that was a true story. And it was about Chris Kattan wanting me to get him a DVD player for his room, which I thought was really odd because everybody can just stream stuff down. Like there's no need for that anymore. So I write this long bit about getting this DVD player for Chris Kattan because in my mind it's a funny story, and so I go out there and I start telling it, and it's just not getting the laughs it needs to. I did a few tweaks, and I was like, it's just not working. But it was a longer bit that I'd worked on, and I was like, I don't want to scrap it. So what can I do? So I changed the DVD player to cocaine.
Okay.
And I was like,
that'll spice things up.
I was like, maybe the DVD player just isn't connected. I was like, I'll go extreme with it and see if that it's still not getting laughs. So I was like, maybe it's Chris Kattan. Maybe people just don't think it's funny that Chris Kattan did this. And so I was like, who else have I worked with that wouldn't care if I just embellished the story about it?
Yeah.
And B, wouldn't make a stink about it either. So I start racking my brain. I narrowed it down to Ron Jeremy and Dustin Diamond, who played Screech on Saved by the Bell.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Rest in peace. He's since passed. And I was like, well, Dustin Diamond is passed. So like, I'm not going to do that. Like, it's just, I can't touch that. But I was like, you know what? Ron Jeremy's in prison.
And who cares?
For some really bad stuff. I was like, let's roll with that.
Yeah.
So I have, I have a funny story about Ron Jeremy that's just, maybe 10% true, but I was like, I worked with Ron Jeremy, like I have to talk
you
about
have
it
to bring that up. That's a real life experience, right? Absolutely.
And that's a lot of what comedy is. Like a lot of times it's something you experienced or your friends experienced, and then you take a few liberties, throw a few punchlines in there, sprinkle a little on top, and
man. And I think that's why I like comedy so much, is because I personally can find humor in almost anything. Even like a tragedy, a tragedy is only a couple days away from being a joke.
Right.
And
give it a few years afterwards, it is funny.
It is. Yeah, exactly. I mean, how many 9/11 jokes are there?
Exactly. Yeah, and some of them are funny, and you feel bad laughing about it, but it's
kind of like, I see what you did there.
You can, and it takes a real skill, to actually get a laugh out of stuff like that. So
it's really an art form.
That's where it is an art. Yeah. A lot of people, I kind of go back and forth with my wife about this sometimes, because she she's big into comedy and stuff like that. She's like, you're not an artist. I was like, in a way I am. Like, it's very subjective,
Sure.
Not everybody likes it. I remember one time we went to the DIA, the Detroit Institute of Art in Detroit, and we were walking around, and I remember seeing this one painting that was it was a blank white canvas with one thin red stripe right down the middle of it. And I was like, I could do that.
Right.
And my wife was like, but you didn't.
Right.
And that's kind of what it is. Yeah. Like, it's you're putting your stamp on something, and, you start with a blank canvas, you throw it up there and see what sticks.
Yeah. And that's all art is. It's subjective to the interpreter, and honestly, I would challenge anybody to stand on a stage in a room full of people and try to make them all laugh.
That's where it's hard, because so many people will get into comedy. And like, I talked about advice that I would give, to younger comics. Another thing is, a lot of times, like if you ask every open micer or everybody considering getting into comedy, why do you want to do this? And oftentimes, probably like 8 out of every 10 of them, their answer is something along the lines of, well, I was the class clown, or I'm really good at making my friends laugh, and this and that, which is fine. And I would never tell them, don't do comedy because of that, but don't let it be the reason, because, making 10 of your friends laugh around a bonfire while you're all drinking, telling inside jokes is way different than making 50 people laugh in a dive bar in Clyde, Ohio on a Tuesday. It's like it's different. It's so a lot goes, like there's sometimes, like there's one booker that I work for. Oftentimes, like he'll send me these funny like complaints he'll get like via email, and a lot of times it'd be like, that comedian wasn't funny. Not necessarily about me. Sometimes it is about me, but other comedians, it'll be like, he or she wasn't funny. I'd like my money back, this and that. And I always tell them, like, comedy is subjective. Like, just like they showed up. They did their time. They're scheduled to do 15, 30, 60, whatever. They went up there. They did it. That's what they paid for. And if they didn't like it, it's sort of like me going into the DIA. Like, I'm not going to ask for my money back because I thought that painting was stupid.
Right. Your art here's trash.
I paid to see the painting, just like they paid to see this guy do comedy. So
yep, that's kind of the risk you take as
right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Risks all the way around.
Yeah, man, that is so awesome, though. You had mentioned one story that I really want to get into. The Girls Gone Wild.
That's 100% true story. So that That happened 2009-ish. So like I'm maybe 3 years into comedy, and I hadn't done a weekend at a comedy club yet. I hadn't worked with like a name yet. Like I had been making a name for myself, but I hadn't really done anything substantial. So one day, one of my booking agents reached out and he was like, "Hey, I got something you might want to do." He was like, this one place is going to be doing they're having Girls Gone Wild come in, and they want to have a comedian to come in and just kind of keep everybody entertained before the party starts. And right away in my head, like at this time, like it's 2009, I'm a guy in my 20s. Like I know what Girls Gone Wild is.
I guess I didn't realize Girls Gone Wild was still happening in 2009.
Right. Well, it was on the tail end of its run. Like it really was. So like it was.
All I remember is the commercials when I was a kid.
You see those infomercials, and hindsight, it's like, how was that a thing? You know, like you can find, like it's basically just softcore porn. You know, girls making out and taking their tops off.
Like they didn't think kids were watching those commercials.
Like how is this a thing? Like you can find this anywhere. This isn't even that great. But at the time, like I knew it was big. I knew Girls Gone Wild was big. So, and it was big when I was growing up. So right away, I'm thinking to myself, and this is before I got any details. I was like, they're going to fly me out to LA, Miami, Cancun, or some other hot spot and it's going to be at some fun nightclub. I'm probably going to be put up at a really nice hotel. This is going to be awesome. Like I'm finally doing this. And then he goes, "Okay, all right, cool. It's in Lapeer."
What?
And I was like, "What?"
So they did a Girls Gone Wild here in Lapeer.
At the time, I was living in Davison. So I told him, I was like, "I'm from Lapeer." He's like, "I know. That's why I asked you. I thought this would be perfect for you." And I was like, "Well, where is it? Like, where's it going to be?" And he was like, "It's at the Polar Palace, the now defunct Polar Palace, because they have that mezzanine upstairs."
Okay.
And this guy rented the space up there, and he was like, "I want to have Girls Gone Wild here." And one thing that a lot of people don't realize, I certainly didn't realize this at the time, and I have a feeling he didn't either, but when you book Girls Gone Wild to come to your event, your venue, or your party, you are literally just booking the title, Girls Gone Wild. You get the name, the brand, you get to, Girls Gone Wild, use the logo, stuff, and their tour bus shows up just in case they want to take a couple girls on board and film stuff.
So the question I have right now is, do they bring the girls?
That's the thing. They do. I don't think he realized this or not, but they don't supply the girls that go wild. Like that's 100% on you as the party promoter. So this thing leading up to I'm sharing it around on social media, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to be here, this and that, and blah blah blah," and unbeknownst to me, apparently he had been going on to Craigslist, putting out ads. "Hey, I'm having this party and this and that." And so the day of the show comes, the bus pulls up into the Louis parking lot. It's there, everybody's in Louis, like cheering, everybody's going out there taking selfies. And I show up and I go up into the mezzanine and I'm gearing up for what I got to do. And then they open the doors, and the only people that actually showed up for what was probably supposed to be the biggest event in Lapeer, Michigan history had dicks. Like that's
and they weren't even chicks.
No, they were just a bunch of dudes milling around waiting for a couple of chicks that weren't there, by the way, to spontaneously start going down on each other in the middle of the room. Oh. And a lot of times people are like, "Well, Dustin, who would actually go to a show like that in Lapeer?" And I always tell them, like, try to imagine what type of dude from a small town in Michigan that would pay $10 to watch two local chicks 69. That's exactly what fucking showed up
right now, man.
So before you know it, the hour leading up to the show, so to speak, about 250 to 300 dudes are just up there. Like
all amped up.
They're all paying $20 a head. It's 2009, so most of them are paying cash. And this place is just full up there. The dance floor is up there. There's like strobe lights, it's music, but there's nobody on the dance floor. And then, 8 o'clock hits, which is when I'm supposed to go up when the party starts. So, and I was like, "Is there anybody who can give me an intro?" Because normally you want somebody to be like, all right, guys, this party's gonna start. We got a comedian, and then they give you a little
introducing
intro.
Dustin Cole,
right? And they were like, no, that's just you. Just go on. I was like, "Are you fucking serious?" Right. So like, I go up there and I just start doing my thing. And remember, I'm like 3 years into comedy at this point. I'm still like an infant with comedy, so like I'm intimidated by what's happening in this room. And so like, there's a stage, and then in front of the stage is this dance floor Nobody's on the dance floor. So all the dudes are surrounding this dance floor, and I'm up on stage and I start doing my comedy. They're barely paying attention to me. They wanted nothing to do with me. They just want to watch chicks have lesbian sex. Like that's what they're there. They don't want to see this 20-something kid up there like talking about his dick.
Right.
Like that's the last thing they want. They wanted nothing to do with it. They collectively laughed once, and it was just because some douche in the back of the room shouted, "Show us your tits, asshole!" And then like everybody laughed. So I was just up there, and I'm sweating bullets, and I decide after about 10 minutes, I'm like, all right, this is it. But the reason they wanted a comedian there was that way when I was done, I could introduce the party and get Girls Gone Wild going. So I was like, well, if I want to get paid, I got to sell this, right? So I was like, you guys ready to get what you came to see? And everybody's excited. Like they think girls are going to come walking in.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah. I was like, you guys ready to see Lapeer's finest get down and dirty? And they cheer even louder. I was like, all right, everybody, give it up for Girls Gone Wild. Then the DJ like hit the music. So like bass is thumping and the strobe light starts strobing again. Music hit the dance floor and nothing happened. Like all these dudes, they're just kind of surrounding the dance floor in like this horseshoe shape. And nothing was happening. Like nobody came out and all the dudes are they're just looking around at each other like, what's going on? What's going on? And I was just kind of sitting back at this point. I was like, this is awesome. Like I'm watching a train wreck.
Awkward. I love awkward.
Right. But then I'm looking around for the guy. His name was Anthony, the promoter. I'm like, where's he at? And like, he got the fuck out of there with all these dudes' money. So like,
that's what I was thinking. It's a scam.
Right. And well, that's the thing though. Like he promised Girls Gone Wild.
Yep.
Girls Gone Wild was there. No girls showed up though. So I think he was just he saw the writing on the wall. He was like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, he's
like,
gone.
while I still can.
So no girls at all.
No girls, just a couple the wait staff that was up there.
Did they do anything?
No. Like they weren't there for like they thought it was just as funny as I did. Like they're up there like this is ridiculous.
All these dudes are left with hard-ons.
But they all start kind of looking
in anger.
Right. They all start looking at me though, because I'm the only person left in the room that had anything to do with this.
Like you work for them.
Right. So they kind of start surrounding it. They're like, hey man, is there any way to get my money back? I was like, I was the one, like I got paid to entertain, that's it. A lot of them believed it. Some didn't. Luckily I got out of there with my life though, but it was, and then eventually everybody just kind of trickled back downstairs. But it's kind of funny because living in this town still to this day, like every now and then I'll be out shopping and like I'll see a face like I was at Girls Gone Wild. Like that
and he's with his wife.
Right. That guy thought he was gonna show up and just watch two chicks making out.
Oh man.
But it was one of those things like you almost kind of I don't know, like even like when I first heard, oh, Lapeer, like that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But
and I thought too, like if girls did show up, then they gotta just live in Lapeer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like that's it. And so it's like just all these horny dudes that just thought they were going to see. And it's,
oh man,
it had to be like, it was embarrassing for everybody all the way, embarrassing for them for even going up there, embarrassing for them but I mean, on my resume, I have opened for Girls Gone Wild, which is not a lie.
That's kind of cool though.
Like it's something I did, so it's, but yeah, that was 100% the craziest gig I ever did. And it was only like 3 years into my career. So it was, that was kind of the thing that started the ball rolling on like big stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So. It kind of made me think of when I was in a band, we would play a lot of different bars and clubs around Flint, a little bit of Detroit. One time we played, it was the Odyssey, the old strip club.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where the Odyssey. Yep.
Yeah. We're sitting there playing it. I was a drummer and there's just strippers right on the stage with us. One of them's like super pregnant. And I'm just like, what are we doing here?
There was one year, I think it was like 2011, 2012. I got an offer to do stand up on New Year's Eve at Deja Vu in Flint. And I accepted the gig, but then like as it got closer, somebody at the club, probably the GM booked it, but then the owner caught wind of this and he was like, we're not fucking doing that. People are not here to see that.
Yeah.
No offense to this guy. I'm sure he's great. I'm sure he's funny.
It would have been better than Girls Gone Wild.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely would.
There would have at least been girls there.
But it was one of those, I got the offer for that too. And I was like, I'll do it, but like, I'll take your money. But I think it's silly that we're doing, and of course,
well, you did say that you got into comedy for pussy. So
first line ever. Yeah. Didn't make any sense. Like it got a couple. It was. I think at that point in my career, I was going for the shock factor. Like I thought that's how you do it. You have to say fuck a lot. You got you know.
Right. But you're going to be at a strip club and you're about to get all you can handle.
Yeah. I think Girls Gone Wild would have went over good. Like if Kevin would have did it at the machine shop or something, they probably would have went over great.
The right promoter, the right place, and Lapeer's kind of a weird destination because everybody. It's like a bigger town, but not like super big. Like you see the same people all the time. You get even into Flint, you kind of get a mixture. You don't really see the same faces all the time. So you might get some girls that are a little.
Well, it's interesting. Like there was a thirst for it. Like people clearly showed up.
There was a market.
Gross, horny dudes.
There was just no product for them.
Right. Yeah. They just didn't have what they were selling is all. But yeah, so there was a want for it. It just
that is hysterical, man.
But that's 100% true story. And that's one. And actually every set now, like, and your set's always ever evolving, but probably for the last 2 or 3 years, that's what I've opened the show with that story basically. Yeah. And I've thrown a couple punchlines in there and taken a couple liberties, but I tell that up front now. And the reason I did is for the longest time, I didn't have a bit for it. It was just, I'd be on a podcast like this and they'd be like, tell us about the Girls Gone Wild story. And I always tell it. Then eventually I was like, why am I not talking about this on stage?
Right. It's a pretty significant moment.
Yeah. I finally fashioned it into a bit and
that's so
put
cool.
it to work.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah. So what's up, guys? Are you looking for the ultimate wild game retailer? Then look no further than the Country Smokehouse. From elk and buffalo to camel and wild boar, smoked cheese to jams, and much, much more. They specialize in gourmet foods like snack sticks, brats, and jerky. The options are endless. And holy cannoli, don't forget about the desserts. Are you looking for a gift? Come on in and put together the perfect gift box. Are you hosting a party? They offer gourmet catering that will certainly be a crowd favorite. You can also stock up on beef and buffalo in bulk, raised on local Michigan farms. The Country Smokehouse is the largest deer processor in the state of Michigan. Stop in once and I guarantee you will be back. Located on M53, just 2 miles south of I-69 in Elmont, Michigan. For more information, visit countrysmokehouse.com. The Country Smokehouse, where they beat everyone's meat. Side effects may be severe cravings, enhanced appetite, feelings of overfilled stomach, and extreme satisfaction. Please eat responsibly. What do you got going on currently?
I just finished a weekend with Tom Arnold at One Night Stands Comedy Club. So yeah, I was there. I got lucky with that one because he needed a ride from the airport to his hotel. So they called and they were like, "Hey, if you're free this weekend, if you want to give Tom a ride, we'll give you some time up front." So I got really lucky with that one, and we kind of hit it off too. Like we're
nice.
He might have some dates for me in the future for that. So he's really cool. I really like working with him. As far as the immediate future,
real quick on Tom Arnold, he was in that movie True Lies, and that was a classic.
Best movie ever. And he actually, and I told him that, and I felt like such a fanboy telling him this too, because I know it's not the first time he's ever heard it.
He hears it all the time, but you know what?
Yeah, man. But I was like, that's my favorite action movie of all time. It's a true story. And he tells a couple funny stories on stage about that. So
really?
It's actually the line about what kind of a sick bitch takes the ice cube trays out of the freezer. Like I made a point to anytime I work with a celebrity, I always think it could be the last time I work with them. So I always print off like an 8x10 and I'm like, I go into fanboy mode for 2 seconds during the week and I'm like, hey, can you sign this?
Right.
And I printed off a picture of that, a still from that scene, and it actually had the text at the bottom, what kind of a sick bitch takes ice cube trays out of the freezer.
You got to sign that.
A nice little 8x10 of that. Yeah,
nice. That's so cool, man.
But immediate future, next weekend, I'm in Flint on Friday on the 15th, I believe. I think it's called Redwood's Steakhouse or something like that.
Yeah, I seen that off of 23. Is it 75 or 23? It's right there off the expressway.
Yeah, be there next Friday. It's either, I think it's whatever the 15th is, I'm there.
Okay.
Weekend after that actually is kind of pretty big at Timothy's Pub in Flint.
Yeah.
There's a movie premiere on May 23rd for a movie that I was in.
Nice.
A fellow comedian wrote, directed, produced it. Her name's Veronica Douglas. She's one of my best buddies in comedy, and she put me in it. I'm kind of the token white guy in it. Play kind of a quirky doctor.
That was actually going to be one of my questions is, have you ever thought about acting?
I do a little here. Like I dabble. I've been in a few short films. There's actually kind of a funny story about that too. So the one big movie that I got cast in, I want to say it was like 2 or 3 years ago. I got cast in this movie. I read for it, went in and stuff like that. And I got this small little part in this movie that, I guess it would have been one of the producers. I can't remember what her role was, but she reached out and she was like, do you have an IMDb page? You know, we're going to credit you in pre-production and stuff like that. And I didn't have an IMDb page because in order to have an IMDb page, you have to be credited on something major that's IMDb worthy. So I was like, I don't. And she was like, well, I can help you get one now. So if you want one, go ahead. And so I signed up for one, and it's like a $20 fee to have it every month and stuff like that. So,
really?
But I was finally
they charge you for that.
Yeah, but
wow.
it's an IMDb Pro account is what it is, because you're a professional working, whatever. And so she gave me what I needed to start that, and so I got credited in this movie. Can't remember what it's called. I have to look it up because it came to fruition. So
really?
So I got this IMDb page, and because I was credited in this movie.
But the movie never aired.
And then the movie, it fell through, right? So she was like, hey, the funding fell through, so unfortunately it's on the back burner, and it just never got picked back up. Maybe someday it will, but it never got picked back up. But now I have this IMDb page that I'm paying $20 a month to have. And my wife is like, I remember like a few months ago, we're going through, just like couples do, they go through their budget and like what the bills they pay, can we do without Hulu or, that sort of thing.
Sounds like my wife and her Planet Fitness membership.
Yeah. My wife has one of those too. And because I signed both of us up at the same time. Yeah.
You know how it just keeps racking up.
Yeah. And perfect business model, by the way, Planet Fitness. Charge them very little.
Right.
People sign up, and then since it is very little, they're like, whatever.
I can handle that.
So probably 90% of what Planet Fitness gets is just these people that signed up and never fucking
no one's
go.
ever there.
It's the perfect business model, honestly.
Right.
Because if it was a little, say it was like $30 a month, you would go in there and cancel
you
that.
would feel obligated.
Yeah, like $10, you're like, I'll get there when I get there.
I have to cancel it or I have to use it.
But I'm paying for this IMDb Pro account.
Yeah.
$20 a month, and my wife is like, can we get rid of that? And I was like, no, because here's the thing. If I get rid of it, I don't know if I can ever get it back unless I'm casting. So I have an IMDb page. There's nothing credited on it, but I have it. And so, that was the big thing I got cast, and it just never happened. It never came. But
so you're in this other movie though.
Yep. It's called The Nice Agreement. We're trying to get into some festivals, right? Or Veronica is. She's trying to get into festivals and get it some traction and stuff. Nice. And actually, I've been meaning to talk with Jill over at the Pix. I was like, we can probably do it there too. Because what we're doing is, we want to show the film and then have like a short comedy show afterwards, because a lot of local comics are in the movie itself too. So that's at Timothy's Pub next Saturday or a couple weeks from now on the 23rd. So.
Nice. Yeah, actually, I know where that is. I used to service them. I used to work at a beer distributor.
Okay.
And that was one of my accounts.
Yep.
That's pretty cool, man. Mm-hmm. Yeah, get it to the Pix. We'll come and check that out.
I want to, and it's a big reason I want to too is because I got my daughter a spot as an extra in it. And,
nice.
And she's 11, so it was a big deal to her. She showed up on this movie set, and she's been telling her friends at school and stuff. She's like, I'm in this movie and stuff like that, and they're like, no, you're not. So I'm really excited for it to come out for her. And a big reason I want to do the Pix is I want to rent the Pix, or either in collaboration with the Pix, just do something where we can do like a premiere, like red carpet thing and stuff like that. Really just so my daughter can, really live it up.
Crazy how that works? You just want to see your kid just have so much fun.
For me, I want people to see it, don't get me wrong, but like she, I know she's excited about it, so I want to make it kind of a big deal.
Absolutely. What's the film kind of about, roughly?
It's about this, I was told by Veronica that it's based on her life when she was a little younger, where she was in between jobs. She couldn't hold down a job, and her aunt got her a job. And this is the movie. Like there's this girl, her aunt gets her a job at this coffee shop that she works at, and eventually the aunt, she has a heart attack and she has to go to the hospital. And she's behind on bills. So now it's on her, the main character, to raise some money to keep her aunt's coffee shop going and stuff like that. And it's a comedy. It's a rom-com.
Nice. And it's based upon like her real life experience.
Yeah. Apparently she went through something similar.
Yeah.
And her name's Veronica Douglas. Shout out to her. She's great. She's based out of Flint. She's one of my buddies. And
I've actually got this idea. It's been stuck in my head forever about a comedy film. Mm-hmm. And it's actually kind of based off of my life.
Most are, yeah. That's
you know
where
what I
they
mean?
stem
It's like
from,
a life experience. And the title for it is Circling Kansas. I've told the story once before. But I used to do a lot of like drug selling. I was a drug dealer as a kid, and I ended up getting a connection down by the border in Arizona, down in Phoenix. So what I did is I drove down and went down Route 66 and went down there, got pulled over a couple times going down. And then coming back,
everybody's got to take Route 66 once in their life.
You know what I
too,
mean? Yeah, even if you're breaking the law, who
Yep.
cares? And then coming back, went up through like Flagstaff, Four Corners, up into Colorado, and came across. Took 30 hours to get there, and it took 3 days to get back because the trunk's completely full of weed. And you're just passing cops the whole way back, right? But we did a perfect circle around Kansas and never went into Kansas. So that's where that title comes from.
Sure.
But I thought that you could almost do like a comedy. Like a suspense.
It sounds like a buddy comedy.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
That was kind of an idea I had. I'd like to throw it out there in case Veronica's interested.
I've had a couple ideas over the years, and there was one, and this was probably 15 years ago when I had it. So I was in once, like me and my close friends started to become of age and like get in relationships, and some of them started getting married and stuff like that. I was in a lot of weddings, like as best man, a groomsman, usher, I played every role at somebody. And there were so many, like it got to the point where I think I had been in like 12 or 13 at some point carrying some role or another. So I had this idea for a movie. I was like, okay, what if like there's this guy who he's like a best man for hire for losers that don't have friends, and like he becomes his friend and this and that. And then this movie comes out probably 2012, 2013 called Best Man, starring Kevin Hart. And that was the premise.
That was the idea.
I was like, that was my movie.
Right.
But it, like, I felt really good about knowing that, you know what?
Hey, it was a good idea.
Me and Kevin Hart were on the same wavelength. I was like, I'll take that.
Right. It's like the muse was putting it out there and he grabbed it. You know?
So I like that was one that I always kind of circled. My wife's always like, that's bullshit. You're not telling the truth. I was like, no, I swear to God. Like I had this idea.
I actually just sat down with Kurt Deimer. He's the one I just posted. He's an actor, singer-songwriter, film producer. He's actually starting a horror franchise.
Okay.
He's worked with a lot of big names in the horror film industry, and he still is. And he's got a bunch of horror movies coming up. And that's what I said to him. Like, hey, man, if you need any extras or anybody to get murdered or something, just let me know. I'd like to get murdered,
Yeah. And honestly, if you belong, there's a lot of Facebook groups for that, actually, where they're like for extras,
Oh, really?
they'll post, stuff like someone will catch wind of this thing where they're looking for extras for this age range, this, gender, that sort of thing, and they'll put it out there. And I belong to a few of them. I haven't dabbled in any of them yet, but like I've wanted to, because there's been, like, for instance, I know they shot part of Batman versus Superman in Metamora, like like Wayne Manor in Batman versus Superman was at a house in Metamora.
No kidding.
So like there was stuff like that where I'd be like, it would have been cool to kind of catch on to stuff like that.
That it would be cool. It's fun, just a good time.
Mm-hmm. And you get paid for it. They pay you. They give you food.
Right. It's just all for fun. A little bit of money. Why not?
Yep.
That's cool. So what else are you dabbling in these days?
Trying to stay busy with comedy. I'm always looking for the next project too.
Did you are you doing something with Rick Mahorn?
Oh yes, actually. So Rick, former actually the original bad boy with the Detroit Pistons,
the 1989 champions,
and he's the current color commentator for the Pistons radio as well. So I want to say like 3 or 4 summers ago, his attorney was friends with a comedy booker that books me a lot, and he had this comedy booker had put together a tour for Darren McCarty of the Red Wings. And I had done a few shows with Darren McCarty.
Nice.
And he just reached out to Rick Mahorn's attorney. He was like, listen, I do this thing for Darren. Rick's very affable. I think he'd be good at this too. If it's ever something he's interested in, let me know. And lo and behold, he was like, yeah, I want to do that. So 3 or 4 summers ago, we got out on the road. We did 3 or 4 shows in and around Michigan. That went really good, and I finally a few years had come and gone, and I just reached out to him a few months ago. I was like, let's do this again this summer. You up for it? And he was. So we just did the picks a couple weeks ago.
No way.
Had a nice little.
How did I miss that?
Actually, right across the street,
right next door.
But so and I thought it was going to be a one-off, because I'm in a flowing group chat with him and the other comedian Cam Rowe that we kind of make up the tour a little bit, and we're always kind of busting each other's balls. So I was like, let's do this again. We haven't like hung out together in a while. Let's do a show. So I did the picks. It went really good. And I, like I said, I thought it was going to be a one-off. And then on his way out, Rick was like, you'll let me know when the next one is. We're going to do this. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I'm working on putting it to one-night stands in Waterford and hitting up a few other venues, and hopefully we have a weird window to do it because the Pistons are going deep.
Yeah,
probably.
Man, they're doing real good right now.
And so he's on the road with them.
Sure.
And then immediately after that, he coaches in the big Ice Cube's Big Three basketball league too. So,
really?
so he coaches in that too. So
Nice.
so we got a window of certain days and times that we can do it, but we're trying to weave it in there, and
nice.
I hope we can make at least a few dates happen.
I'm gonna have to stay tuned for that because that'd be fun.
Yeah, and like I said, just follow me on Facebook or whatever, and we'll if you see a date for it, just let me know, and you can just pop out. Like it's because it's our show, it's not at the venues. So like if just let me know. And
That's so
we'll make it
cool,
happen.
man.
He's super cool too. Like he is.
Yeah.
If it's weird because like I said, I've been very fortunate. I've worked with a lot of big names in comedy, but I didn't know I wanted to be a comedian until I was like 20. So. But before that, my life was sports. So like all my heroes were these professional athletes and stuff like that. And Rick Mahorn was one of my favorite players growing up. And so when I work with him, it's like working with a childhood hero.
Right.
So it's a bigger deal than,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, like I love Bobcat. I love Tom Green.
Right.
And I love it. And Tom Arnold. And they're heroes of mine, but on a different, like that was in adulthood.
Right.
Like this is like.
You still get like those fanboy feelings when you're around Rick Mahorn.
Right, I do. Yeah, like, and I really can. And the thing is, it's funny because I did the tour with Darren McCarty for a while, but I'm not a hockey guy. So
Sure.
and I think that's why it worked out for me because like I don't, but with Rick, like we'll be in the van going somewhere and be like, hey, what was Lindsey Hunter like?
Right?
Like just these random questions. They'd be like, I don't know. Why don't you call him? But he's a really fun, affable guy. And like I said, working with him would be like for some kid working with Spider-Man, like that's like it was just it's like he's like a superhero to me.
Absolutely. No, I totally.
So it's been
get
very
that.
surreal working with him.
Man, that is so awesome. Cool, man. What are you into other than comedy?
So I like my biggest hobby is I love running. I'm kind of a health nut. The thing is too, like I don't eat like a health nut, but I run every morning. So I love, getting into that. I love binge watching shows just like your average person does.
Yeah.
I'm really I love Detroit. I love the Detroit Pistons. I grew up a really big Piston fan and really big Piston fan, pretty big Lions fan, casual Tiger fan. And like I said, I don't really hockey, I'd like to see the Red Wings do well, but
sure,
it's something I don't really pay too close attention to. So I'm really big into that. But other than that, other than comedy, I'm actually a pretty boring guy.
Yeah.
I don't if I don't have a show on a given weekend, me and my wife pretty much my kid will be up to whatever she's up to. But for the most part, we just kind of lay around.
Yeah,
we're
stuff.
We're boring 40-something
right.
people.
Yeah, no, I totally understand, man. I was just curious if I could dig into a little bit more,
Yeah, well, there's I did for a while. I'm really big into true crime podcasts and stuff like that, and I helped out with one for a while. It was called Hide and Seek, and it was a pretty popular one. It was this guy named James Basinger where he does these deep dives into these cases, and like a whole season will be dedicated to a case and stuff like that. And I just kind of got into contact with him, and I was like, hey, appreciate what you're doing, this and that. I can relate. I'm also an entertainer and this and that.
Yeah.
And then one day, his producer reached out and was like, we're looking for someone to host the live episodes where we just kind of recap the week's real episodes and stuff like that. So I was doing that for him for a while.
Nice.
But the problem was, at first they were doing it on Thursdays, which worked out pretty good. I don't have a lot of gigs on Thursdays, so that was working out pretty good. And then they wanted to move it to Friday. I was like, guys, I can't.
Yeah, right.
This is my prime time. But so there were no hard feelings there. So I'm really into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love those documentaries. Whenever I get TV time to myself, because my wife's not really into them, I'm watching some kind of murder documentary or something.
Yeah,
you know
I'm
what I mean?
really big into I love Dateline and this I don't know. Do you know who Keith Morrison is?
I've heard the name.
He's the main Dateline guy.
Yeah, I definitely know the name.
I actually I recently started telling a joke on stage. There's some truth to it though too, where I go, my big fear isn't necessarily getting murdered. It's that if I get murdered or if I go missing and it's covered by Dateline, Keith Morrison won't cover it. It will be like Josh Mankiewicz or something.
You're gonna get some downgrade.
Like, get some second or third tier guy.
It's like, can I at least get Keith?
Yeah, but yeah, I'm really So I mean, that's the sort. So because I don't have a ton of time to myself like these days, other than, I used to hate driving to gigs. To and from gigs. Now I really look forward to it because that's when I can binge podcasts and stuff. And I'm really big into true crime podcasts. And I have some interest in someday starting like a true crime and sports podcast where, you cover stuff like, OJ Simpson, Aaron Hernandez.
Sure.
I've been meaning to pitch that to Rick actually, because I was like, if I get Rick Mahorn attached to this, like it could be something.
Right. It could be something. Yeah.
Right. So I'm really into like binge podcasting, binging show. I'm currently in the middle of watching so one thing that some people find out about me is a show that I really loved and I watched week to week until it was over was The Handmaid's Tale.
Okay.
And then, so the follow-up series to that is The Testaments, and that's what's airing now. And that's kind of like where a lot of I'm in a lot of Facebook groups where I like to talk about, theories and stuff like that.
Right.
So like I'm really big into deep diving into stuff like that. And that's probably my biggest hobby other than running.
Right on, man. Well, sounds like you're crushing it either way.
Trying to, man. I'm trying,
Well, would you like to give your socials a shout out on here?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. You can find me. I primarily do Facebook and Instagram. I tried Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it now, but it's just so confusing. Like everything's hashtagged and stuff, and I don't know how to read them.
Right.
Maybe that's the 44-year-old in me. I was like, maybe like that's for something a little younger, a little more famous. But you can find me on Facebook. Just look up Dustin Cole. Look for the one with the blue check mark. My profile picture is me looking tough. I'm not. I just want to put that out there. But
you do run though.
Yeah, it's a cool picture. But with the blue. Or if you just type in facebook.com/Dustin Cole Comedy. It'll pop right up. I'm on Instagram as well at Dustin Cole minus the I. So it's just like Dust and Cole because.
Gotcha.
Some Dustin Cole got
there's a lot of
Dustin
there's
Cole
more than one
me.
Dustin Cole.
Yeah, and some guy that's really into skateboarding has the one, but
yeah, I know how that feels.
Kudos. But I mean, it's one. Used to be Dustin at Dustin Cole Comedy, but like you see all these like bigger comics and stuff like that, and it's just their name, and I was like, I want that. Like, how can I just have that? I was like, I'll just cut out the I. It's fine.
Right. Why not, man?
So those are the big places to find me.
Cool, man.
We're most active.
Was there anything else you want to add in on this?
No, just kind of follow. I don't really have with comedy, especially in the Midwest, it kind of dries up a little in the summer, just because venues primarily don't really want to commit to something on a nice weekend when they know people might not make it in for that reason. But I got a few dates kind of scattered in throughout there. I got a pretty big May. Like I said, next weekend. Like I said, I think it's called Redwood Steakhouse on Friday. Yeah. That's in Flint. Next Saturday, I'm over in Paw Paw, which is over the west side of the state. Southwest. I'm doing not to get too whatever on here, but it's a fundraiser for a political party. Yeah, that's just what I'll say. Yeah. It's a fundraiser for the Democrats of Paw Paw. Yeah. Out there, or the Van Buren County Democrats. And then the weekend after that, on the 21st, which is a Thursday, taking part in the 989 Comedy Festival out in Saginaw in Bay City. I'm at a show, I forget I'm at O'Hare's, I believe, on Thursday there. And then that Saturday, I have the premiere of the Nice Agreement at Timothy's Pub on the 23rd.
Is there any idea of that movie hitting any streaming or anything like that?
It's hard to say. That's what we're in the midst of doing right now. We're especially Veronica. She's in the midst of hustling it. We're trying to get it into some festivals and stuff like that. And hopefully we can gain some traction and maybe get it on Tubi or something. That'd be
hoping
great.
I can check that out. That'd be cool.
But like I said, once it's out and available, I can definitely send you a link. At the very least, check it out.
I'd like to check it out. Why not?
I play a quirky doctor in it. Veronica's always said that I resemble Jim Carrey. So,
dude, you do have like a look of a guy. That's why I was going to ask you before I even knew you did any acting. Was like you got like a look like an actor.
I get a lot of you look like Jim Carrey. I get a lot of Mikey Day from SNL. I get usually after sets they'll get you remind me of Dane Cook, but I think a lot of that's just kind of the
I see like a Jim Carrey and Ben Stiller combo almost.
Yeah,
You got like the chiseled
I've gotten Ben Stiller.
jawline.
Yeah, but she's always been like, you remind me so much of Jim Carrey, even on stage, like with the way you are. She's like, so what I want you to do, play this doctor as if like he's a quirky Jim Carrey character, and that's kind of what I tried to spill into it.
Yeah,
So
nice.
So that's what I do in that one. It's and like I said, I'm basically the token white guy in that movie, but it's a lot of fun. Lots of local talent in it, lots of local Flint talent comedically and in that movie. And actually after the premiere there'll be a short comedy show where all the comics that were in it are going to perform too. So
right on.
And that's called the Nice Agreement.
Cool, man. Well, thank you so much for coming in, man. This was awesome.
Absolutely, this was fun, man. And you're local too, so we should not be strangers.
No, we should not.
We should collab on some stuff, and
I would love that.
Make something happen.
Absolutely, I love that idea, and we'll definitely, down the road, we'll revisit and get more of what's going on.
Anytime. Like I live 5 minutes away.
Nice.
Live 5 minutes away.
I live in North Branch now, where you're from. So.
Yeah. So it's this is easy. We should definitely make this
is real
happen.
Cool. I'm glad we linked up though.
Absolutely. I'm glad my wife found it. Like I said, I don't know. I can't remember if this was on air or off air, but my wife saw you post in the Lapeer discussion page looking for.
Yeah, I was like, looking
anybody
for local
might be interested.
That,
and my wife was like, you need to be doing this. And like I didn't see it because I've been kicked out of there a couple times, and I eventually just had to remove myself.
I see like the riffraff happening.
Oh God, yeah.
It's like some people just have no control. They can't restrain from posting things.
I've never said this on stage or anything, but I've always kind of made this running joke that like your town is only as smart as the dumbest person on your local discussion page. Like
which means every town's pretty dumb.
I've posted that on Facebook a couple times, and people are always like, "Oh man, come on!" I was like,
"Hey man, truth hurts sometimes, Sorry, it hurts to suck."
Yep.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, thanks again, man. This has been awesome.
Brilliant name, by the way.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, Joel Dirt. So, you probably, I don't know if you watched the first episode, was when I kind of talked about it.
Okay.
I used to be an account manager. I lost my job because of COVID, and didn't know what I was gonna do. I got into trucking. I'm like, there's a lot of CDL jobs.
Reliable too.
Yeah, reliable, decent pay right off the bat. So I got into trucking. And in the spring season, I hauled dirt. So, and my name's Joel. So you can see where that's going.
Yeah,
so
that's very natural.
I'd come back and the people at the yard would call me Joel Dirt, and again, kind of like you were talking about earlier, I got a lot of road time. So I'm constantly thinking in my head, you know, like and listening to podcasts. And I actually had this business idea, which is funny you say this because it kind of ties into what you said about the Kevin Hart movie that you had an idea for.
Sure.
I had a business idea. I had a name for it, spelled a certain way, and it was Capsule, like Capsoul. Okay. And the idea was to capture people's legacies. And I'm like, how do I do that? Like, how do I come up with a business where I capture people's legacies, for loved ones after people pass, because I'm a truck driver. I'm like, I could die someday and my kids won't know who I am.
Yeah.
Right. So that thought's been running through my head. And I looked it up. When I originally looked it up, it did not exist. 6 months later, still having the idea, looked it up. Same spelling, same idea, legacy capture, somewhere down in the Carolinas or something, somebody started a business.
It's funny. I know a guy that he'll think of like a clever domain name and just buy it. Just because he like at some point somebody's going to want this, and then I'll sell it to him at a reasonable price. And it's that, I don't know how legal that is.
Well, it's snaky, but it works.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, but I was like, it's pretty genius.
Start buying up all the .coms you can come up with.
Right. Yeah. You think of something really clever. Like, what? I'm surprised it's not taken. He looks it up and it's not, and he buys it. And I don't know what he does with them when they don't buy them, but
right. So I had that idea, and then I'm like, well, that ain't gonna work. There goes that idea. But then I was thinking, like, I mean, sure, you can make money. You charge people what, $300-400. You go sit down for a few hours, capture their loved one's story. I mean, it's cool, but I'm like, I kind of just want to do it for fun, like, and talk to people that I want to actually talk to. And then I'm just like, I listen to podcasts like every day.
You're right.
The podcast format's perfect. Why don't I just start a freaking podcast?
And it's just as good too. If I were to die tomorrow, I know my wife's going to want to watch this.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So I'm able to share my stories, and I'm genuinely a talker, and I'm into other people's stories. I love hearing wild shit. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It gets me excited. But so then I was like, all right, well, I want to start a podcast. And I'm just like, So how do I do this? I'm constantly, once I think of something, I'm a deep diver, just Googling everything. What do I need? So one day, and this is a couple of years ago, went out and just bought all the stuff. And then
you got the good stuff too.
I did.
I know Shure is like,
these are the Shure SM7Bs or whatever they're called. These are the one everybody uses. Mm-hmm. And this mixer board right here, it's pretty much the bee's knees. It's got everything combined into one,
right?
And I wanted to simplify it too. So I didn't want all kinds of different technology. I just wanted everything in one. I wanted it nice and simple. So I went out one day, and after I did all my research, and I just bought all the stuff, and then I'm like, now what? What do I do with it? And this is a couple.
Turn it on.
But it was, but I had nowhere to do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and I've told the story, but coming here, and I brought my son here for drum lessons with Deb. And after a couple months, I'm like, something's telling me to talk to Deb about this podcast idea. And she's like, let's go. I'll set you up in the corner. I'm like, what? Like, okay, well, I guess let's try it. So I set it up, and
it's a great space.
It works. One day it'd be cool to have, I have a vision of a more elaborate setup, but this works.
And it'll come.
It'll come. That's it. I have like a total vision of how I'd like it to be. There's actually an old vault right there, an old bank vault, and I wanted to do it in there, but it's the church upstairs or whatever. And I don't think I can, but it's all brick wall. It's an actual vault door.
Okay.
And I thought it'd be really cool to be inside an actual old bank vault.
Yeah.
But either way, eventually we'll have a nice space that's...
It's funny. You touched on how you lost your job to COVID.
Yeah.
Real quick, I got an interesting... So I was... Near the end of 2019 and the first couple months of 2020, like I had been going really hard in comedy for a few years at that point, and like to the point where I was performing every weekend, every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I was feeling very burnt out from it, like almost to the point where I told my wife, I was like, you know what, maybe it's time to kind of downgrade this from a career back to a hobby, and just find like a more grown-up job and stuff like that. And so I had kind of decided to do that, and I reached out, and I had a hookup at Dish Network to be like an installer, and I applied, and I had an interview on the books, and that interview went well, and then I was supposed to have a second interview, and so it was looking like everything was going to happen. And then COVID happened, like March 8th or 9th, whenever it shut down.
For sure.
Like it just kind of it shut down, and so obviously that canceled all of that and so on and so forth. So, and that canceled comedy too, obviously, for however many months. And then I realized, like, after 3 or 4 months, I was like, I miss comedy. Like, I wanted, so it, like, as weird as it is, COVID kind of saved comedy for me. Because had it not happened, like, I would have moved on to be whatever I was being, and I'd probably regret it at this point. And it was kind of then when I was like, okay, I'm never even entertaining that thought again.
Right. And COVID also brought a lot of material for comedians.
It was interesting. When everything first started, when everything opened back up, like you would go to a club, and it was the weirdest thing. Like some clubs would have like a thing that you'd put over the mic, and you'd have to replace, each comic would have to replace and stuff like that. And you have
to use your hand to replace
that. The clubs were about 40% full because that was really all they could do, and the spacing was weird, and everybody had a mask on, so people were laughing, but it was very muffled.
Like,
and
I can't tell if you're smiling.
It was so weird. Like, and there was too, like, to stay busy, like a lot of places would offer these virtual shows where, like, a bar would have, even though they were closed, they'd have a comedy show, and they'd have 2 or 3 comics, and it was all via Zoom, and you'd had to get this, you'd pay $10 to get like the Zoom code to get into the room to watch the show. And it was the weirdest thing because everybody would be on mute, so you didn't know.
So you're just like, are they laughing?
Well, most comics would have a situation like this where they were just sitting in a chair with their headphones in, and they were like doing their set. But I was like, no, I got to do this right. So I made a backdrop in my basement, and I hooked up a mic, and I made it look like I was doing stand-up, but I didn't like it. This might be going well. It might not be.
Right. Well, at least you're trying, though. Right. And you're keeping your wheels greased.
Did stand up at a drive-in theater during COVID once, where like you'd perform like up on this stool by the big screen, and like everybody would honk in approval, like if they liked it. It was. They got creative, but it felt weird, man. Like it was.
What a time to be alive, though. When
it's
you really
crazy
think
that was
about
6 years ago too. Like I can't believe that. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago at all.
It's so wild. And another story, kind of how I was impacted from COVID was, sure, I lost my job and everything, whatever, but my wife and I decided to build the house. And during COVID, so it couldn't, and when we locked into the build, mortgage rates were still low.
Sure.
You know, inflation didn't happen. It was like right before. And when we locked in, all of a sudden inflation, I mean, telling you, the next month it just went crazy. And we didn't get our mortgage rate till the end of the build. So went from like a 3, and then everything went double, triple in price. And then next thing you know, we're at like a 7.25% interest rate. We move into this house, and it's a beautiful new house. I mean, 3,000 square foot, 5 acres up in North Branch. Beautiful house, brand new. And
perfect town to build in too, like with all that space, you know.
Yeah,
like
yeah, nice town. But we were like, what the heck, dude? Our mortgage was $1,000 more a month than when we originally were quoted, $1,000. And we had another child in that time, and not to mention inflation affected groceries and everything. So everything went up. Wages stayed the same, right? So all of a sudden, our differential went like we were like dead even. We sat down one night, we crunched all of our bills, and it was like dead even. And I looked at her, I'm like, do you want to pay for our prison? I mean, it's just a house.
Yeah.
Or do we want to be able to take our kids on vacations and buy them all the Christmas presents we could possibly want?
And that stuff, you often have to, me and my wife kind of have we kind of go back and forth on stuff like that too, because my wife is all about, like the ideal weekend is just kind of like, I just want to sit at home. I want to
have a break.
I want to zone out, like, and to where like me, I love to travel, like aside from comedy, even like I want to
see a new place.
I want to discover stuff. I want to do these experiences, stuff like that. So we're always kind of a little, not combative, but we're like, you know, it's kind of funny. Nate Bargatze said on stage once, he did a bit about how there's dreamers and there's, I can't remember what he worded it, but they're basically realists. And he was like, you can't have two dreamers together because they'll be homeless in an hour.
Yeah, right.
I'm 100% a dreamer. And if I didn't have my wife, like I probably would be homeless.
Dude,
like,
I am the same thing. I am 100% dreamer. Wife is always keeping me in check because I'll go rabbit holing in my head, like way down the line. I'm like, well, but we could do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm the one, like if we go on vacation somewhere, it's because I spurned it. And I was like, listen, let's do this and this. And every time we're on it, she's like, you know what? I'm glad I'm married to you and you make me do stuff like this because I wouldn't otherwise.
Well, my wife she loves to do a lot of stuff like that too, but she's very realistic.
Right. Yeah. Same. Yeah. It sounds like you have a very similar situation to me. Yeah. But I mean, that's really what it is. You almost have to, like, especially like, unless you're just rich, you know, like you basically like, do you want like the perfect house or do you want experience?
At the end of the day, a house is just a house, right? And you just sleep there. Right. You know, and so we did end up selling the house. We lived in it for 6 months. And fortunately, I did a lot of the work, you know, and her uncle helped with the build. So, and house prices went way up. So we made out fairly well from the house when we sold it. And then we just bought a little house right in town, North Branch, paid cash for it.
That's all you need.
And that's all we need for now. Right. But our kids are getting bigger. So now we're really feeling it. It's only like 1,100 square foot.
Sure.
But we had this extra money. We opened a business. We own a hair salon. Shout out to the Girl House Hair Salon in Lapeer, right over by Starbucks. All right. And so we started a business, and now she's crushing it there. And now we're looking, you know, in the next year or so to get into a newer house. You know, so it was like this weird. You got to take a step back, sideways, and then in order to get forward. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that was kind of
life's like that. And you know, there's something like my brother is very. He's of the belief that he's like, I want to create, you know, the perfect environment at home where I don't want to leave. And I can understand that and I can appreciate that, but it's also like, I could live in the nicest house ever. Like I want to, you know what I mean? Like I want to experience, you know, what's outside of that bubble.
Yeah. There's so much out there.
Yeah.
You know, and I love, again, like you said, I love exploring, you know, I've never been to the Northwest, you know, territory of, you know, United States, but I've been out Southwest and I love the desert. I love Vegas.
Dude, I think, was it last summer? Was it last summer or the summer before? I did a weekend at a comedy club called Quezada's Comedy Club, and it was in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Yeah. When I got out there, I was like, this is where I want to be. You know what I mean? Like if I, if someday, if I just have the money to just up and relocate anywhere I want, like that's where I want to be. Like it was just so beautiful. Yeah, it was incredible. Yep. Like I'd never seen anything like it was like stepping into a painting.
You ever been to the Grand Canyon?
I have not yet.
Dude, go.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. And I'm not one to dramatize something, but I will dramatize how awesome it is because you feel like you're in front of a dang green screen. It's like, how is this even real? Like, are my eyes playing tricks on me?
Amazing. It's amazing what is out there. And I told my wife that too. I was like, if I ever get a weekend there again, like screw making money on the weekend. I want you to come too. Like I want you to see this. Like it's just so amazing.
Dude, it's so cool.
It was just like our favorite place in the world. Like whenever we have a little money to splurge on a trip, we love the Florida Keys and Key West and stuff like that.
I've never been down there.
That's our favorite place. We went to Key West on our honeymoon, and now and we just fell in love with it. So if ever we have a little extra money to take a trip, we usually go there.
Nice.
But one of these days, I want to get her out to the Southwest.
Yeah, man, that's my goal too. I actually came home from Vegas and I put together this huge pros and cons list of moving to Vegas. I'm like, honey, like let's just, and the pros list is humongous. The cons is like, oh, it gets hot. Okay. You know what I mean? I was like, we got to go, but family, friends, life's here.
And that's a big part of it too. Cause we've kind of flirted with the idea of moving to the Florida Keys and stuff like that. And, but it gets tough. And, one thing she kind of put on me, she's like, I tell you what, we can consider it once Aurora's grandparents die. And I was like, well, I don't want to fucking think about that. Like, what? So
I'm thinking about death.
Yeah. So like her mom and my parents and stuff like that. I was like, I'm not looking forward to that. That's
all of a sudden you're like rooting. No, I'm just kidding.
But it's like, I get it too, cause you don't want to take her away from that, take away those experiences. But I even told her, I was like, you know what, we can take your mom with us. Like, she'll just like, and my parents love to travel. Like we can just make that, they'll come down. Don't worry. We'll just take your mom with us. Screw it. Fine.
Yeah, and I'm just banking on the idea because we're gonna be living in North Branch for at least the next 20 plus years. Maybe we can have a place to go in the cold season. You know what I mean? Even get like a damn fifth wheel or something, and you could go to different places,
dude.
Every winter.
I've told so many people this, like on Reels, like on Instagram and Facebook, a lot of times you'll see these people that have turned the inside of their vans into a mini home and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? If I was single and I didn't have a kid, I was like, I think this is what I would be doing. Especially as a comedian, I would just drive, like I do my gigs and then I drive to wherever I was going over the next week and I'd use my Planet Fitness membership to shower and stuff like that would be, You
should head down to Austin in that van, man.
Haven't made it to Austin yet. I did Dallas once, but that was before the big comedy boom down there.
Yeah, Austin, it's crazy how big it is right now. There's 6-8 clubs all like within like a mile or something crazy.
Yeah.
And there's open mics all like you can get up 3 times in
Well, that's what I mean. Like I know it's funny. Like at first when Kill Tony first became a thing, one local Detroit comic went down there, tried to get on, and he got on and he did really well. And everybody kind of was like, oh, that's awesome. And then like it became so common. Like I like now there's like so many of them, like to the point where there's like this running joke where like it was some meme I saw. It said something like, comic shows up to an open mic, puts his name on the list, and he tells the person, I've been on Kill Tony, and they're like, great, just put your name on the list. Like, like it was like when it first became a thing, but now so many people have broken through on it that it's just incredible.
Right. I mean, but it does seem like if you get in front of the right people, you never know.
Well, that's what it is. Like, and that's where it's all a gamble. And that's where like, even my own career, even though I never got famous, like I got that break performing in front of Jason Douglas, who was then like, you know what, come on.
But here's the thing though, is it's comedy also is really awesome because it's not too late for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
There's generally, from what I've noticed, there's people either get into comedy very young, like I did, and they were like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to aim for. And then there's people that for whatever reason, like in their mid 40s, they're just like, you know what, I want to try comedy. And then they get into it and then they're fairly successful too. for whatever reason, there's never any in between.
Right.
It's always right at the beginning, or
it's like a midlife crisis.
Or, yeah,
like, I got,
and instead of like having
I've been wasting my whole life.
Right. Instead of having an affair with their 23-year-old secretary or buying a Corvette, they're like, I got to go to an open mic.
At least I could get awkward on stage.
Right, yeah. And that's like about half of in Michigan anyway, like half the community, that's what it is. It's like half people that started very young, and then half that were just like, I want to do it.
Right.
And then they think it's going to be a hobby, and then it just turns into it's addictive once you start getting those laughs. And then
I can imagine just hitting that joke and everybody.
There's nothing like it, man. Like there's some nights where like everything just clicks, and because it really is a domino effect where like if you hit with one, like they love you now and they're with you and they're on board and they want to hear what you got next, and then they're gonna laugh at that too, and boom, boom, boom. And those are always like, I could have, like, it could be 6 hours from home, like, and I'd get in the car and like, I'm riding home on a high, like that ride home after a really great set, short or long, like it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. I'm familiar a little bit because back when I was in the band or whatever, you'd get off and be like, oh, I felt good tonight. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, you hit that gas station, you load up on junk food, get in the car, and go home. Throw on some awesome podcast, and you're just on cloud nine.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. Well, cool, dude. I'm really happy to connect with you.
Yeah,
and
same,
to do
man.
This,
same.
We'll definitely do it again sometime.
Yeah, even outside of this, you know, that's like we're creative minds. Let's get together. Iron sharpens iron, man.
Yeah, man. Keep me posted on your ideas and vice versa.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Well, thanks again.
You too.
Yeah. See you guys.
Thanks.